hello, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Carol Jenkins. The program is Black America, and today we're joined by Peter Westbrook for a conversation about the art and sport of fencing. We might say science, too. Peter was the first black man to win an Olympic medal in fencing. He is a 6-time Olympian, 13-time U.S. national fencing champion, and now through his foundation trains future Olympians, in fact, even current Olympians. We'll talk about the outstanding showing of black Americans in so many sports in Brazil in 2016 in a minute, but thank you so much, Peter, for being here. You're an icon.
Well, Carol, let me just say thank you for allowing me to be on your show. You were always one of my heroines when I was coming up. I used to watch you all the time on NBC. And when they tried to get me to change to CBS, I said, nope, I'm watching Carol.
A loyal fan. Thank
Yes.
you so much, Peter. You're terrific, and thank you for what you've done for the world of fencing.
Right.
I always start by asking the guests to tell us where they are in Black America. Where were you born? I know I can spill the beans, it was Newark.
Yes.
But a very, very interesting upbringing.
I was raised in the housing projects in Newark, New Jersey, with an African-American father and a Japanese mother. Let me tell you, it was very difficult.
Right.
They didn't have any Japanese restaurants. Japanese people were not so, I must say, fashionably in as they are now in those days. So I caught hell.
Because of both of the Japanese element in your history. You were living in a black neighborhood?
Well, sometimes when you're in the housing projects, there's a lack of education, there's a lack of money, there's a lack of resources and finances. So people just don't think the same way because the lack of education. And when they saw a Japanese mother, a Japanese woman in the neighborhood, you know, people used to make fun of her, make fun of me. That's what I mean when I said we caught a lot of hell. I had to fight so much. My mother sometimes, you know, got a little bit of abuse, received abuse. So it was a little difficult times.
In reading about this, that's the sense that I got. Your dad left fairly early in your life.
I wouldn't say that he left. My mother kicked him out. He's been very, very abusive. He used to actually beat her a lot, And I remember my sister and my mother would be in a corner crying, and sometimes I would see blood around the house. So as a little kid, I would come out and go to the bathroom to try to get a Band-Aid. Band-Aid wouldn't do too much for that.
Oh my goodness.
But it really took a lot of toll in the house. So when my mother finally kicked him out, I got to tell you, most of the time people are sad when they're raised in a single-parent home. When he left, we were overjoyed. We were so happy. We were like, we did a hallelujah dance when he left.
Well, so in the house and in the streets where you grew up, there was a great deal of discrimination, physical and verbal abuse against you and your family.
Well, in the housing projects, there's always a lot going on because of lack of resources, lack of opportunities, lack of education, lack of everything.
Right.
So because of that, people don't handle things in a diplomatic way. So most of the time, when something is happening, when there's a disagreement, there's always fighting.
So you were a fighter. At what age were you a fighter?
3, 4 years old. You have no choice. I would like to have talked and said, well, guys, you hurt my feelings. Guys, that's not right. I tried that. Those things never work. So like when you're in Rome, you do what the Romans do. When you're in the projects, you do what the Projectians do. You do what you have to do to, you know, to deal with things. It wasn't nice, wasn't easy, but there were no other options.
Well, your mother has an interesting story, too, because she then had to support, with no education per se,
Right.
you and your siblings. So what was that like?
Well, when my father was kicked out around 3 years old, she worked at General Electric at a factory for a little while, but that did not work, so we had to get on public assistance, welfare. And I remember being on welfare, and I remember that was the only thing that she had to make ends meet. So she was a fighter, she struggled, and I gotta tell you, if it wasn't for her and the values that she put in me, how to persevere. I remember one time the parents told her, when she told them that the abuse that she was taking, you can come back to Japan, but you gotta leave the kids. You can come back to Japan, but you can't bring black kids to Japan. She says, no, I'm going to fight it out. I'm going to struggle. I'm going to stay here and raise these kids. There's no way I'm going to Japan and leave these kids. And a lot of Japanese women at that time, we would get together because they would come to my home, the Japanese women that married African-American males. So we would all get together. Some of them went home and left the kids. My mother didn't. So I always thank her that she stuck it out. I thank her for just struggling like that. So it makes me have that kind of quality.
Sure.
That I have to struggle and do what I have to do for my children and for mankind.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, she certainly, we should give her Marika. Right?
Yes, Mariko.
Right. She
Yes.
she gave you the foundation and also got you into fencing. She was the one who saw the kids through a window in a school and said, Peter is going to come here. But she didn't have the money to pay for it. So
Right.
tell us that. You were then, what, 12?
I was 12 years old.
Right.
I went to a school, Essex Catholic High School in Newark, New Jersey. And she said, Peter, why don't you try fencing? I said, I don't think so. She says, why not? I said, if I try fencing in housing projects, everybody's going to make fun of me. Who understands fencing? White America didn't understand fencing. America didn't understand fencing. Never mind in our communities,
Sure.
it was even more foreign. So I said, I don't think so. She said, please, my family in Japan used to get involved. We have a lot of samurais in the family. She used to always tell me stories. We have so many samurais up to the Emperor of Japan. I said, that's okay. It doesn't make a difference to me. That's not doing me any good here in the housing project. So the answer is still no. She said, oh, I give you $5. I said, what? I'll give you $5.
All it took was $5. Well, that
Yes.
was a lot of money then for a 12-year-old in
Right.
Newark. Right. Okay.
$5, like $25 today.
Sure, sure.
1960s.
Sure.
So I went, I tried it. I loved the sport. Just one day, people doted over me, made a big deal. People said how talented you are after one day. Now you got to realize nobody told me I was good at anything except my mother. Mothers tell you all the time how wonderful you are, and that don't count. You can button your shirt the wrong way, and your mother still say, oh, my, don't he look good? So when I had outsiders tell me that I was talented,
Sure.
it did something for me inside. It made me feel good, which I never got from the people in the housing projects. So I went home, told my mother, they treated me bad. I told her they didn't treat me right. I don't know if I could do this again, but if you give me $5 more, I'm going to try it again. She said, okay, I'll give you $5 more.
You're
So
a
I
stiff negotiater.
Yes,
Too.
tried this a couple of, about
Learned
3
that from
times.
your mom. Right.
Yes. So we tried it about 3 times, and she didn't have any more money. But I fell in love with the sport, and the rest is history.
And so that was an activity that was every day. It was 5 days a week, right?
This was at the school 5 days a week, correct?
Right, from 3 in the afternoon until 6. So that
Yes.
took care of the afternoon where you might have gotten yourself into some trouble, real trouble.
Yes. So from 3 to 6, I was at Essex Catholic High School. Let me just say, my mother was right. It changed my life. She said, I want to have you around people that are noble. Well, I don't know how noble the people are in fencing. I got to tell you that. I don't know how noble they are, but it did change my life. It gave me a whole different outlook, a whole different perspective, a whole different energy, a whole different just drive in life.
Sure. Well, it took you all the way to the Olympics. But 1984 was when you actually captured.
Yes. My first Olympic Games was 76, and then my last Olympic Games, 6 in a row, was 96. And not only fencing, Carol, not only did it change my life in fencing, but in corporate America, getting jobs in corporate America as executive. I remember people would tell me, they looked at my resume and said, if you can fence and make the Olympic team, you have a job here. If you get through this interval, the job is yours. So it helped me in a lot of different areas.
You wrote a book called Harnessing Anger, the Way of an American Fencer. And it's interesting because you were talking there about controlling fury
Yes.
that made you
Yes.
such an extraordinary fencer. Talk a little bit about that, because now hearing your story, we could understand the fury. And if you hadn't had fencing, what would have become of you?
Well, to answer the first part of your question, I'm going to say that you cannot help from being an African American in this country and not have anger and rage because of oppression, because of lack of opportunities, because of how people treat you. So that's the first thing that gives us anger, some of us rage. Then when you have a lot of abuse in the family, you know how the father hits the wife hits the kid hits the dog.
Sure.
So that is a lot in our family. So my father, my mother, in the neighborhood. So all this rage that I had and anger just made me almost explode. Maybe not almost, explode. I'm glad I didn't implode. If I have to do something, I'd rather get it out in an outwardly manner
Sure.
than in myself and destroy myself. So it was amazing. This sport, it was a channel, it was a vessel for me to get rid of all this anger, all this rage. And if it were not for this sport, oh, I got to tell you, Carol, I'm not quite sure. I probably would be locked up. I probably would have been on drugs. I probably would have killed somebody or been killed. So the sport saved my life. So the sport even gave me a scholarship to NYU. So I'm so thankful and grateful what the sport has given to me. I wouldn't be here talking to beautiful Carol. So I got to tell you.
Well, the interesting thing about fencing
Yes.
is that it's an ancient martial art. You know, I went and I had to look up some of these.
Yes.
We were talking about the 12th century,
Yes.
where they used to do this with hatchets and clubs, right?
Yes.
But then, you know, these fancy swords came into play. So it's this idea where they used to fight, where
Yes.
it was an actual art of war.
Yes.
It's now this very delicate system of pointing, of touching, of not going all the way. Talk a little bit about this control.
Let me just say, today, when you look at fencing, you look at a white sport. If you want to know fencing, the first recording of fencing in history was in Luxor, Egypt, 1000 BC. The first recording of fencing, where you have Egyptians with masks and
Sure.
swords, 1000 BC. That is amazing. So what we're trying to do is bring it back to our children. To answer the second point, you said, what fencing? You have 3 different disciplines. Like in track, you have the 100 meters, the 200 meters, the 800 meters. Fencing, you have the foil, the épée, and the saber. To make it real quick for people to understand, the foil and épée, you score only with the point by thrusting. With the point, thrusting. Saber is the only one, what I fence, where in order to score a touch, you have to cut the person, slash them in half. So that's why that's my favorite. I love cutting people.
You seem like such a nice guy, but then again, I'm glad we're not defending something
Right.
with each other. you know? So let's go to the current Olympics, because you have your cast of characters through many Olympics.
Right.
Now you've been able to send people. To me, this year, the most impressive thing was Ibti Muhammad,
Okay.
your woman fencer, a Muslim woman,
Right.
who said the most wonderful thing about this sport, in that because she's completely covered in the fencing, as she would have to be because of custom,
Yes,
but in
yes.
her fencing uniform, that nobody had to take into consideration what her gender was, what her race was. Nothing. The only thing was her skill. And that moment where they take that mask off and you see that it's a black woman or a black man
Right.
with this tremendous skill. To me, that was the Olympics of 2016. Just
Yes.
amazing.
Yes. I told Ibti, we have a lot of Muslims in our program, in the Peter Westbrook Foundation. She said, you don't have one that went to the Olympics. I said, okay. She's the first woman to wear the headscarf, the hijab, in the history of the Olympic Games from the United States of America. In the world,
Right.
in the world, there's only been 3 or 4. One Morocco, one Tunisia, and I forgot the other place. So it's amazing because now she has brought light not only to women in the Muslim world in sports, which they are oppressed and not allowed to compete, but also in education. She graduated from Duke University. So a lot of times Muslim sisters around the world are not able to get educations.
Right.
So she's broken down that barriers. And I told her, for all Americans, not just during a time like this when there's so much negativity talking about Muslims,
Right.
she is a beacon of light in the world. She's a beacon of light in our country. So I said, Ipti, there's a lot on your shoulders, but this is the task that you have. Once she came to me and said, Pete, I don't know if I can do it after making the Olympic team.
Right.
Pete, is just so much depressed in media. I don't know if I can take it. So I had to say one thing to turn her around. I said, well, remember when you almost did not make this team? She said, yeah. Do you know how you would feel if you did not make this Olympic team? Pete, I can't even fathom how I would feel. Okay, so now you made the team. This is much easier. Now do what you have to do, not only for yourself, for Muslim women, for Americans around the world. She said, oh, I feel much better now.
Right.
Yes.
And we should say that this is in your line of work now with the Peter Westbrook Foundation, where you're training hundreds
Yes.
of urban children in the art of fencing. And she was one of your students and teaches now.
Yes.
There.
We have at the Peter Westbrook Foundation about 160, 70, 80 kids every class
Right.
here in New York City. That's amazing in any sport. And we teach them how to be the best that they can be. We teach them how to get all the education they can. We teach them no matter what your struggle is in life.
And you give them tutoring it too. You also have an academic element to your.
We have an academic program, and we show them how to strengthen their test scores at PSATs, SATs, SHSATs, and they are excelling in academics. They're excelling socially, fencing-wise. It's amazing that I have all these wonderful black kids fencing. And Ipti is teaching now. When she came, she was 12. Now she's helping me to teach every single class. And she's doing an amazing job.
It's a great story. Also, another great story is that you medaled in 1984.
Yes.
And now the next American man to medal was this year.
Yes.
Daryl Homer.
Yes.
Again, someone that you've had a great influence on. He gave you specific credit for his winning this year.
Yeah, he spoke about me and about our organization and life. Daryl with us 6, 7 years at the foundation. And then when our club split up, we hired his coach, different coaches we hired from Hungary, from Russia. Now we're growing homegrown African-American coaches to do this all the time. And when the club split up, he went with his club. But at the Olympic Games, before the Olympic Games, he would come to my home. Peter, how do I do this? He would come to my home 3 days before he left, a month before that, 3 weeks before that. And my job was to guide him to make sure. He said, Peter, what is my goal in life? How do I deal with all the stress? What do I do? So I was able to guide him, walk him through, show him where the minefields are, remove the fear. The fear is the most important thing. You got to get rid of it at the Olympic Games because fear paralyzes you. So he was able to fence fearless. So we were so happy that he's able to win a medal. I said, Down, I got a bronze. You outdid me. And Keith Smart, who's an Olympic silver medalist last Olympic Games, now you have a silver. So I'm so happy for Daryl Homer. But I told him this, and the same thing I told Ipti. Medal doesn't mean anything. It's what you do with the medal. It's what you do, what you're going to do to change your life and to change society and change mankind. That's a great Olympian and a great medalist. So do something with your medal.
I want to talk briefly about a couple of other of your amazing students, Nzinga Prescott.
Yes. Nzinga Prescott, she's one of our Olympians that went to Rio Caro. She came to us when she was 8 years old. And this is the second Olympic Games that she went to. She is amazing. I thought she was going to win a medal over Daryl and over Ipti. Why? Because she's actually won tournaments just as difficult, if not more, than the Olympic Games. She's been winning tournaments this year and last year. So I thought that she was going to come back with a medal. I said she did. And I said, Zinga called me. She was so heartbroken. I said, Zingy, it's okay. It's okay. You're a great Olympian. Just to go to the Olympic game is amazing, and you're going to be okay.
And she's so young, so she'll be going back, right?
She can easily go to the next Olympic Games, and that's not easy. The body has to hold up to take the pounding, to take all the abuse. She can do it. She just got to get a hip operation.
Oh, no.
Yes, that's the only thing, though.
She has to have a hip operation?
She has to have a hip operation in the next 30 days. But after that, it'll take her 1 year to recover, and then she'll
and then
back in
she'll-
business.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Because such fantastic talent. And Keith and Aaron Smart.
Yes.
Brother-sister team.
Yes. Keith and Aaron Smart. Aaron came to me when she was 9, Keith 11. I got to tell you, they're amazing people. They won a silver medal each at the Olympic Games. And they helped me to teach every class, to develop the curriculums, how we teach the coaches. Those two are amazing. Those two has done something with their medals. It's not just for themselves walking around boastful, but they use the medal to better their lives, better the kids in the PWF and society. I said, you're almost doing what Muhammad Ali did.
Right, and there's the Muhammad Ali story, too, I want to get
Yes.
to in a minute. But I do want to, because one of the, I know that you carried the flag
Yes.
in the 1984, and that's such an honor because you're chosen by your fellow
Yes.
Olympians.
Yes.
Right, and Simone Biles this year was selected to be that person.
Yes.
We have some video. Let's take a look at her. I can watch her video forever and ever, and then let's get a comment after.
okay.
Simone Biles.
It's going to be a huge score.
Armenard, 2.5 ding twist. Yurchenko. It was her last shot, John, to get that stuck landing we were hoping. We've seen so many times from her. She's gotten the 9.9 in her execution score.
What a talent.
Unbelievable.
So when you see somebody in gymnastics do this kind of thing, have this kind of mastery over their body, it's almost like fencing in a way, because that's what that is all about.
Amazing, Cal. I was talking to one of the coaches in gymnastics, Wendy Hilliard, and Wendy told me...
Who's been on this show.
Oh, yes? Oh, she has?
Yeah, she's
Oh, wonderful.
Great. She's great.
Wonderful. And she told me, Peter, Simone Biles is going to win the overall. I said, well, how do you know? She's that much above the field, not in this country, in all over the world. So I was kind of prepped from Wendy that this girl is amazing. I've been to 6 Olympic teams, Cal. I've never, ever seen a black gymnast this good. I've never seen a black woman that much ahead of the field, almost guaranteed. Wendy said guaranteed, well, almost guaranteed to win everything.
Everything.
That is amazing.
Amazing.
In gymnastics.
Right. And we have another
Yes.
Simone
Yes.
Manuel in
Oh,
swimming.
yes, yes.
Let's take a look at
Yes.
her finishing up here.
And it's going to be Manuel in lane 3. Olympic record, Manuel. No, Alexiak. We've got
It's a dead heat.
dead heat.
Oh my goodness.
Now the story about that is that there are so few black children who can swim
Right.
because they don't have access to pools.
Correct.
And
Very
therefore,
good.
so many other black children drowning because they don't know how to swim. So to have this victory was really extraordinary.
I have to say, we don't have a lot of black swimmers. My Olympic teammates tease me all the time, Pete, you guys can't swim. And I would always tell them, Carol, the reason we don't swim is you have to have access to pools, to do laps, to do lanes. That costs money. So when I see Simone in a sport that you don't normally see a lot of African Americans, like fencing, like gymnastics, and I see her win, I'm so overjoyed. I feel like we won a medal in a sport of fencing, but I do know swimming.
Terrific. And I just want to show some video, too, of those 100-meter hurdle winners, Christy Caslin, Brianna Rollins,
Yes.
and Nia Ali. Let's
Yes.
take a look at that.
Rollins has been clean so far, and she takes it all the way to gold. Perhaps Ali second, and they might have got the sweep. Caslin was up there. The time is 12:48. We'll have to wait for the official judge's decision. I think it's pretty close to a sweep here for the United States of America. Rollins has got it. Is it a sweep for the USA? It is! And that makes the victory of Brianna Rollins even sweeter for her. Cindy Feely has been the first non-American across the line.
A sweep.
Unbelievable.
You know, one of the most touching Olympian moments for me was Muhammad Ali, his presence there some years ago. And you have a Muhammad Ali story. He's one of your heroes.
Muhammad Ali is my hero. And the reason he's my hero, Cal, the love that he has for black people, his people, the love that he has for mankind, all people. It's amazing. And I got a chance to test that. Not that I wanted to test it. We got an award, myself, Muhammad Ali, it was Carl Lewis, Steve Young, quarterback Venus Williams, at an event in this country. And I got a chance to spend a whole weekend with Muhammad, me, my wife, Susan, and him and Lonnie. And we're watching the fights one day, and Muhammad told me, Peter, I want you to take a photo with me. I said, okay, champ, let me bow down to take the photo. He says, no, I don't want you to bow down. I want you to take your fist, and I want you to mash my nose in. I said, what? Take your fist and press on my nose. That's how I want to be remembered in your photos. Oh my God. So he made me do that, Carol. He
Well,
made
that's
me do it.
that's a great photo that we
Humility.
want to see. It's
I'm gonna let you see it.
incredible. I
Yes.
want you to come back because you have such interesting stories to
Yes.
tell. Your life story is
Yes.
so interesting. We always finish by asking a guest to finish this statement.
Yes.
The power, the strength of Black America lies in. How would you finish that statement?
The power and strength of Black
Black
America
America.
lies in, I'm going to say, being African American, I would not want to be anything else. So a lot of times people say, well, Black Americans are oppressed, we have a struggle. It's something about the struggle that brings out the diamond. It's something about the coal that's oppressed and pressed on duress that brings out to create diamonds. Something about being an African American and going through so much struggle and trauma makes us who we are. Just beautiful diamonds with so much love in our heart, with so much love to share, with so much love to give. I am so thankful that I am an African American. I thank God, please, please, I thank you for allowing me to be a black man.
Ah, that is just fantastic. Peter
And I
Westbrook.
thank God for me spending time with you, beautiful
Oh,
Carol.
And thank you so much
Yes.
for being here, Peter Westbrook, and thank you for your huge contribution to sports in America. A hero for sure, coming from the housing projects in Newark to making lives better for children in this country. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thanks so much to you out there for joining us. I'm Carol Jenkins. The program is Black America. We'll see you the next time.